A little girl from a small town followed her mother to a Little League game at night. While the adults watched the game from the bleachers, the little girl quickly wandered off, curiously exploring her surroundings and playing with the other children nearby. Although her mother watched from afar, the little girl disappeared in a moment of extreme curiosity. The alarm was immediately raised and many suspicious things were discovered. Yet, for nearly 30 years, her disappearance remained a mystery, until a few weeks ago, when the truth was finally revealed. Born September 12, 1988, Morgan Nick grew up in Ozark, Arkansas. After Morgan was born, her family welcomed 2 younger siblings, a younger brother and a younger sister. Morgan had a unique and special relationship with her younger siblings. She would spend hours playing with them, and both admired Morgan in every way. When she first learned to read, Morgan practiced by reading children's books, even telling her younger brother bedtime stories. Morgan, an animal lover from a young age, always told her parents that she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. In elementary school, Morgan joined the Girl Scouts. She loved doing crafts, spending time in nature, and spending time with her girlfriends. But Morgan's family life was not always warm. When she was 6, her parents decided to divorce. Still, she and her siblings often spent time with their father. In early summer 1995, a family member invited Morgan's mother to watch a basketball game in Alma, about a 30-minute drive from home. At first, Morgan's mother planned the project since it was senior 6, but eventually, she decided to reference it and bring Morgan along, seeing it as an excellent opportunity for mother and daughter to bond. On the evening of June 9th, she left Morgan's 2 younger siblings with their grandmother and went to the stadium with her daughter. Even though it was just a match today, the stadium was packed with more than 300 fake horses, including parents and children. No one could have imagined that today, Morgan Nick's life would change forever. The children explained that before returning to the stadium, they had stopped by a car in the parking lot to shake sand off their shoes. Morgan stood behind the vehicle while they stood in front. After shaking the sand off, they returned to the stadium but did not notice that Morgan had not followed. They thought she was standing near the car waiting for her mother, so they ignored her and continued. Morgan's mother rushed to the parking lot. She recognized the car the children had mentioned but could not see Morgan. Panicked, she checked around and inside the vehicle, but there was no trace of her daughter. Fear filled her mind. Desperate, she returned to ask the children again, hoping they could provide more information. The children admitted that they saw a suspicious man standing near a red pickup truck while playing in the parking lot. He seemed to be watching the stadium and occasionally glancing at them. At one point, he approached and said something, but the children did not remember exactly what he said. They only remember that he spoke with a local accent. Based on the children's accounts, Morgan's mother began to suspect that this man might be involved in her daughter's disappearance. Morgan found her friends and quickly sat down to watch the game, but she started to feel bored after a while. As she looked around, Morgan noticed 2 familiar children who invited her to play and catch fireflies near the stadium. At first, Morgan's mother was hesitant to let her go because it was dark and their first time in this town. She was worried that something might happen to her daughter. However, the children reassured her that they often played around this area and that everything was safe. Finally, Morgan's mother reluctantly agreed to let her go. The children stopped at a small hill, still within Morgan's mother's sight. She would occasionally watch her from a distance. About 15 minutes later, the baseball game ended, and the players began to walk toward the stands to meet their families. For a moment, she was distracted, and when she turned around, Morgan had disappeared. The 2 children playing with Morgan were returning to the stands but did not see her. Concerned, Morgan's mother ran to ask the children if they had. Morgan's mother immediately called the police, and they were at the stadium within 6 minutes. The first thing the police did was talk to the children who had been playing with Morgan before she disappeared. From the children's accounts, the police gathered many details about a suspicious man who had been near the stadium. Based on their statements, investigators concluded that he was a white man between the ages of 23 and 30, about 6 feet tall, of average build, with a beard, mustache, and black hair. The children also had a pretty good idea of the man's vehicle, an old red pickup truck with Arkansas license plates and a white camper trailer on the back. This detail caught the police's attention because the trailer was large enough to hold an adult, not a child. Another oddity was that the tire seemed unusually short for a truck, making it look out of place and raising suspicions that the vehicle had been modified for malicious purposes. The children also noted that the man was wearing only jeans and no shirt, a rather unusual sight. The police immediately searched the parking lot, but they did not find any vehicles matching the description. They then moved on to question the rest of the stadium. However, all 300 spectators said they were focused on the game and did not notice anything unusual or suspicious that night. A thorough search was conducted around the stadium, but also to no avail. With no other options, the police expanded their search to the surrounding streets. Despite their best efforts, they found no trace of Morgan that night. Morgan's mother was devastated. She refused to leave the stadium and decided to spend the rest of the night at the fire station, hoping that her daughter would soon be found. The following day, the search for Morgan escalated as news of her disappearance spread rapidly throughout the area. Dozens of volunteers quickly joined in, along with assistance from the FBI and state police. Helicopters were called in to search from the air, and investigators developed a sketch of the suspect based on descriptions from friends who had played with Morgan the night before. The sketch and Morgan's photo were widely distributed throughout town and surrounding areas, hoping that someone would recognize the man. At first, authorities did not rule out the possibility that Morgan might have wandered off the parking lot. They speculated that she might be hiding or trapped somewhere near the stadium. However, as nearly 24 hours passed without any trace or sign of Morgan, they realized that the situation was much more serious. She would have been found before nightfall if she had gotten lost. As the search continued, police received disturbing reports from parents in the area. One mother said that just hours before the baseball game, a strange man had tried to lure her 4-year-old daughter into his red pickup truck. The vehicle matched the description of the suspect provided by Morgan's friends. This story reinforced the theory that Morgan was not only missing, but had likely been kidnapped. A similar incident occurred near a laundromat in Alma. Her young daughter waited near the building while her mother was inside the laundromat. When the mother came out, she saw a man driving away in a car. She described the suspect and, remarkably, it matched the sketch of the man who was believed to have abducted Morgan. One day after Morgan went missing, another report came from Fort Smith, a town near Alma. A witness said he saw a man trying to lure a 9-year-old girl into a public restroom. Fortunately, the girl escaped. The description of the man also matched the sketch based on the accounts of Morgan's friends. These incidents strongly suggest that this suspicious man was not only involved in Morgan's disappearance, but may have attempted to abduct other victims or even successfully committed similar crimes in the past. Police quickly focused on the red pickup truck, the only clue that might lead to a suspect. They began combing through the criminal histories of nearby towns. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of tips came in from the public, providing clues to potential suspects. However, investigators could not find strong links to link any of them to the crime. Meanwhile, police continued to comb the area around the stadium, carefully collecting items that could be considered evidence. They found several cigarette butts, bottles, and other objects, all of which were sent to a lab for DNA analysis. However, the results did not indicate that these items were related to Morgan's disappearance. The red pickup truck, the best hope for a suspect, was still missing. The case remains unsolved, and the biggest question remains unanswered. Where did Morgan disappear, and what happened that fateful night? Although the man insisted he was telling the truth, he eventually admitted that he had made up the whole story and had seen someone trying to break into his car. Still, he had not seen the person's face clearly. And no girl with the man who was arrested for providing false information, which cost him almost a day of searching and thousands of dollars. It is unclear if he will face any penalties, but such actions usually result in a serious fine or jail time. The investigators were back at square one, but giving up was not an option. They brought in 17 more police officers from around the state. The team focused on sorting through the leads that kept coming in. By then, they had over 1,500 leads, but none brought the detectives any closer to finding Morgan. Her parents did not give up either, but as time went on, their hopes began to fade. About a year after Morgan went missing, her mother founded a non-profit organization dedicated to finding missing children, although she was still focused on finding her daughter. There were no new leads to follow up on. That is when she started helping other families going through similar tragedies. And her efforts to raise awareness, aware of the danger that could occur at any time in a child's life over the next several years. Police continued to follow up on various leads and questioned potential suspects, but there seemed to be no progress in 2001, 6 years after Morgan went missing. The FBI released an age-appropriate image showing what she might have looked like that same year. Several popular television shows aired segments on her case, leading to an increase in the amount of information, although most of this information was a dead end. One detail in particular captured the attention of investigators. A tipster claimed that Morgan's body was buried on a plot of land in Boonville, a small town about an hour from Alma. The caller provided specific details about the case that had never been made public. The police took this information seriously. In early 2002, they obtained a search warrant for the property, brought in cadaver dogs, and excavated the entire area. Despite their efforts, they found no trace of Morgan. The case remained unsolved after this lead went cold for nearly a decade. Then, in 2010, police received another tip. This time, it was about a possible location where Morgan's kidnapper might have held her, but it was in another state. Investigators conducted an extensive search, but again, there was no evidence that Morgan had ever been there. Interestingly, in 2017, the police returned to search the same house they had investigated years earlier, but for a different case. The man who had lived there had been jailed for crimes against minors, and authorities suspected him in a similar case. However, even then, no new leads about Morgan's disappearance emerged. In 2019, a documentary about Morgan's case reignited public interest. For the first time since her disappearance, police shared a photo of a red pickup truck they believed was connected to the kidnapper. Someone briefly captured the vehicle on camera during the baseball game, but the image quality and angle were too poor to reveal critical details. After the documentary aired, police appealed to the public for any information about the truck's owner. They received numerous tips, but none led to a breakthrough. Morgan's mother claimed she had never heard of Billy Lynx or seen him. Detectives also confirmed that no one in Morgan's immediate family had reason to be in the truck. This suggests that Morgan himself was in the car at some point. On October 1, 2024, police held a press conference to announce that Billy Lynx was officially considered responsible for Morgan's kidnapping. Investigators no longer doubted his involvement. Unfortunately, no one believes Morgan is still alive after nearly 29 years of missing. Investigators suspect that Billy killed her within the first few days of the kidnapping. However, the location of the murder remains a mystery. Although the case is mainly considered closed, police have stated that they will continue to search for Morgan's remains. Since Billy never confessed, the task was nearly impossible. Detectives also investigate the possibility that Billy may have been involved in other cases. The fact that he attempted at least a few kidnappings shortly after Morgan's disappearance has led police to suspect that there may be more undiscovered crimes in his past. At the time of his abduction of Morgan, Billy was 70 years old and had a questionable criminal history. Furthermore, having served in the military during World War II, he may have developed skills to help him commit crimes. Morgan Nick's disappearance has become one of the most famous cases in Arkansas. Authorities even renamed the Amber Alert system the Morgan Alert in her honor. Meanwhile, Morgan's mother continues to support families of missing children through the nonprofit she founded. This is how she copes with the loss of her son, even though deep down, she still holds on to a glimmer of hope that Morgan, somehow, might still be alive. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.